Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday, the Change Leadership episode this week with Ramya Shastri. Hey, Ramya, welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm really eager to hear your story of change. I mean, for those of you who haven't listened to it yet, check out yesterday's episode, which is itself also a story of change. So brilliant episode about how to help a team overcome a fear culture. Check it out. But today we want to hear a story of a change and kind of how you went about, like from beginning to end. What were the things that actually had an impact, maybe other things that didn't have an impact, but we want you to walk us through the steps of that change process and highlight for us the tips, the tricks, the tools and the techniques you used back then that you still apply today.
Absolutely. So one of the examples that I would like to share over here is, I mean, when we talk about change, right? I mean, many of the Scrum Masters, they feel that we are trying, but then our management is not listening or they are not getting convinced. How do I convince the manager? This is the typical question even I come across, right? So this is what I always try to tell them, right? So one is you don't have to convince anyone. They should understand the importance of what we are doing, why we are doing, right? So that is one. Second thing is you'll have to lead by example. So whatever change that you're leading, lead the change, but lead with example. So this is typically what I try to explain. So let me give you an example. So I was working as a Scrum Master uh, in a project wherein I joined that organization newly, and that was my first assignment as a Scrum Master. Though I joined as an Agile coach, and the reason why I'm saying again a Scrum Master is that the framework that project chose was a Scrum frame. That's the reason why I'm saying as a Scrum Master. But typically, I was working as an Agile coach, so I was handling like 6 teams over there, single-handedly as a Scrum Master or Agile coach, whatever you may want to call. So I discovered later after working after working for a while in that project that before me there were like 4 to 5 Scrum Masters or project managers. I mean, they tried different combination, and there were like 5 project managers and combination of Scrum Master and project managers who voluntarily got released because they were not liking the culture that this project had. So when I joined that organization and a project, so I realized that there was a culture of maintaining the timesheets. When I say timesheets, they were logging this hour what they were doing, this hour what they were doing. So if they are typically working for say 8 hours in a day, so they had to maintain that list of every hour. This hour what I was doing, and this was to happen for each and every team member. And in the organization that I was working for, had no culture of maintaining timesheets at all. And it's like a flexible working hours, flexible timing, and all those things. And I was surprised to see that why this particular project was doing against what the company is supposed to be operating on. So I happened to check with the team members, and they told me that, you know what, our delivery manager has asked us to do that, and this is a very much pain in our neck. So that's the comment that I
Sounds familiar.
And I happened to check with the delivery manager then. So then she told me that we do it because our customer has asked us to do this, client has asked us to do this. And I was baffled. I mean, why would a customer ask you to maintain a timesheet? So she told me that no, it is required for billing purpose. So I was like, I mean, this is not the right way to bill people, right? So if you know your availability of the team members, you have a fixed team, you know their availability, you can bill accordingly, right? But then she was like, no, she was very reluctant. She was like, no, this can't happen. Client will not listen, and so on and so forth. So I came up with some mechanism, a tool, a very simple Excel. So I named it as capacity, right? Capacity sheet. When I say capacity, it is not measuring the number of hours each team members are putting in or clocking in. Just to make it very clear with our audiences, because when we say we are scrum masters and capacity, people assume that it is number of hours we are clocking. No. So what I tried to do was I just kind of noted down the availability. And with that availability, so I had like 5 teams, right? So I maintained multiple sheets, and in each team I had each team member and sprints and availability, like whether the person is 100% available, 50% available, 45%, whatever, throughout the sprint, right? And if how many days or leaves he or she is taking. So I maintained that, and based on that I also asked for the rate card, obviously depending upon the level that each person is. I kind of done the calculation by the availability of number of days in a sprint that person is available, multiplied by rate card per day. So that's how we got the billing thing. So when I worked on it, I literally sat on that particular sheet for so long, and I prepared that sheet, and I just happened to showcase that to the manager, delivery manager. Still, she was reluctant. She's like, "This looks good, but I'm not sure if this would sail through." I said, "You don't have to worry anything about. You just have me meet the customer. Let me talk to your counterpart from the customer's end. Let me convince that customer or a client. Let me understand." So she said, "Okay." It was again kind of a delegation, right? So she doesn't have to work and convince the customer. So I went to the customer and I asked him, "Why are you doing this? Why do you want to maintain hours, right?" So he said me, "No, that becomes easier for me to bill my business owners." So I said, "Don't worry. What if I give you a better way to do this?" He said, "It would be better then." I said, "Here you go." So I explained entire thing to him, and I was so surprised. He told me that you took away my efforts as well. I had to worry so much to fill in. So what he used to do is whatever hours and tasks that each team member used to do, then he had some level of kind of a calculation at his end, and then he used to bill his customer. So I made everyone's life easy, and I just showed him that now you don't have to do any calculation at all. You just pick this sheet up, give it to the business owner, and you will have the rate cards
This
and
is
price.
This is such a great example of how many processes are developed in companies without really
Exactly.
understanding the need of why they are there. And this is a really cool example because there's this level of management that kind of says, oh, but the customer is asking for it, even though
Correct.
the customer didn't really want that. They wanted something
Exactly.
else. But perhaps when they had discussed the first time, the communication hadn't been productive enough to uncover the need by the customer. And this also highlights that the why question that you asked, right? Like, why is this important for you? Why do you need this, right? It's
Correct.
not, it's not needed, but rather, why do you need it? Like, what are you trying
Exactly.
to achieve with this information? And that uncovers that information that you then need to tell the customer, hey, there's a easier, faster way for you to do the same. Here's an example.
Correct. And this sheet, even now they use it. No one has to maintain anything. They just have to give their availability, and everything gets calculated. And the customer is also using that. And when I came back to this delivery manager, I told her that, you know what, I sold this thing to your customer. And she was more than happy. And when I talked back to the team members, I said that now onwards, you don't have to worry on these timesheets. They literally thanked me saying that this was the biggest nightmare for me, for us, and you saved our lives.
Yeah.
And this literally happened.
And it usually is like that timesheets are nightmares, especially if they need to be detailed, like to the hour, for example, or even in some cases to the 15-minute intervals, which is mind-boggling. Thank you for sharing this story, Ramya.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.